Share with me so far where you have interned, how many internships you've done. You've done it in trial course. Where have you done it? Just let me know that much. Okay. Till then, yeah. So that I also know a little about your prior internship experience. Okay, great. So we're live on YouTube, and I want to welcome everybody. Hi, and welcome everybody. Today the video quality is not very good, but I'm going to be there on chat. There's an issue with my computer, so stay tuned with me, and I thank you for your support. So we're going to discuss today what are the best internships that an aspiring criminal lawyer can take up. And everybody watching me, please share what internships you've currently done so far, because that's going to be very helpful in understanding how to plan out your career going forward. So Ajinkya has done internships in the session squad. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to share, how to plan your criminal law journey. How many of you are clear? Say yes if you are clear that you want to build a career in criminal law. Anybody who's clear about it? Okay. And which year are you in college? For those of you who, okay. So you've done one internship, I would assume. Second year students, okay. So you are already clear in second year. You want to pursue a career in criminal law. Ajinkya, you graduated, okay. Are you working with a senior currently, or exploring building a exclusive career in criminal litigation? Is it final year fourth year students? Okay. Everybody in final year fourth year, are you looking at building a career in it, or you're exploring the area of criminal law? I need to know this so that I can accordingly pace this session and talk about, do I need to address why criminal law a lot more, or should I go to the internship side? Okay. Now I'm going to share also from my experiences that back in law school in 2006 to 11, I was in NUJS. Okay. And 2008 was our second year end, where we were supposed to intern in the trial court and in the Supreme Court. Okay. So I did a couple of internships there, and I dreamed of being like a respected senior counsel. That's the imagination we have when we decide to take up law. A lot of us have it. A lot of us think of corporate jobs, but what I thought of was, wearing that black gown, black coat, right? And being respected in the courts. And I dreamed of being a respected senior counsel with a flourishing practice one day. This was back in second year, okay? And with all gusto, I had taken up doing the internships at trial courts. Criminal law subjects were superb. I loved the subject. I participated in a trial advocacy moot, and I wanted to learn everything about trial. My most exciting internship was in the trial courts of Delhi in 2008. At the end of second year, I would literally tour Delhi through all the courts that are there, far off, 𝗬𝘳𝘳 Patiala House, Karkarduma courts, other DRTs, various consumer district forum also, and state redressal commission also, NCDRC also I once went to. Okay, so I was having a really good time watching the proceedings, but that's not going to tell me that once I graduate, what's going to happen. Okay, and neither was I getting a stipend in the internship, but I was enjoying the whole tour of the legal system, the courts. But unfortunately, I did not have a concrete roadmap. After I graduate, what's going to happen? How is this going to contribute to my career in the long term? What am I going to do from third year onwards? All of that, though, I did not know. Okay, so unfortunately, I had to give up later. So my questions for me were, how should I plan out my internships in the remaining years of law school? Okay, this question was haunting me. I was like, okay, I really like criminal law, but can I do something around it? How can I plan out my remaining internships? And we used to strictly kind of follow a curriculum that, okay, third year Supreme Court, fourth year law firm, fifth year you have to go for a job, and you have to figure out how to get a job. And we were like, okay, now we will not have the time, or the time frame to look at a trial court internship. And also we didn't know how a trial court internship or an appellate court internship is going to make us move closer to a job. You know why? Because back then litigation was supposed to be not so promising. It would take at least 10 to 15 years to build your own career. That was the going trend of thought, and there was no way to controvert that. In fact, even 10 to 15 years was, if you were moderately lucky. And I don't consider myself to be a very lucky person. Okay, so I was like, if I exclude all the luck, then how much time do I have? It was still coming to minimum 10 to 15 years, and more if you're unlucky. So I was like not very inspired by that idea. How many of you get disempowered by that idea? Okay. Say yes, say something like that. Okay. Khushi, could you type on chat? Yeah, that idea disempowers, no? Who else is there who feels that way? So for me, then the other question was, after planning out my internships, which seniors could I opt to work with? Not clear. How much can I earn once I graduate? Not clear. Which seniors pay well? Not clear. Which seniors to choose? Not clear. So basically, I did internships in the court. I saw that the process is not organized in terms of how does one become a good counsel in the court, or how does one build a thriving practice. That process wasn't organized. Okay, and that's the reality. So there are a lot of things outside the courtroom that one needs to learn apart from the effectiveness in the courtroom. But even that is not very clear to somebody who's studying in the studying law, or who's a young lawyer who's freshly graduated. Okay, and this was the biggest question that haunted me. Can I be financially stable and independent after I graduate, even if I don't earn 1 lakh rupees a month? Right? This is the question. I was like, okay, 50,000, 60,000, how can I earn that? Okay, no answer. No answer to that is as well. Okay, litigation meant that whatever will happen. You don't know anything, can't predict anything. How long would it take me to establish myself? The going answer was 10 to 15 years. No contradictory evidence at all. The answers to these questions were not there only. It was believed that establishing oneself would take 10 to 15 years, and that also if you were lucky. But I knew this, that if you worked at a corporate on your corporate law skills somehow to get a job, okay, this was not too difficult. Getting a corporate law firm job was not too difficult back where in the situation I was in. I was from a top NLU, and I had a good rank. I had the right things in my CV. And then I didn't think that I have a lot of, I was conservative about my luck, which is why I thought I'll start studying 2 years earlier. If people are interning at the end of 4th year in the law firm, I will start interning 1 year or 1.5 years earlier. What else is there? Right. So that was my plan. And I thought that I will study on my own in my own time and get better, because and then I realized there were many gaps, but there was no other alternative. So but I was very clear that if I got the job one way, then all I had to do was manage that schedule, survive, do the work, manage the schedule. If I managed to do that effectively, 10 to 15 years I would become a partner. There was no doubt about it. There's no doubt even today. If you don't quit a law firm you begin with, you will become a partner in this much time or sooner. Okay, so it can take anywhere between 7 to 15 years, and you can even become an equity partner in several law firms. Okay, the difference in how realizable the roadmap was black and white. Like corporate law, very predictable, good start, and also good growth. But in litigation, criminal law, but litigation, yeah, it was very difficult, unclear. Obviously, there was no litigation scope in a law firm. Today, it's not like that. Okay, today all the law firms have a major white collar crimes practice. I can show you also by going on the net. When we have some additional time, at the end of the webinar, I'll show you that how to find out firms which have a practice in that area. So I had to give up on my litigation dream for sure. Today, you don't have to do that. That is what I can assure you. Okay, we have more experiences from lawyers. I speak to lawyers all the time, right? Because we have to get more faculty onboarded to teach, impart practical skills. We have a network of lawyers. We speak to seniors, want to hire juniors or interns from our courses. So we are always in touch with lawyers, talking to them about their practice, how it's growing, what are the matters that clients are giving more frequently, right? All these things, we keep talking about, from which we have a huge deal of insight. Okay, what is the insight we have? I'll just tell you. Okay, so what I've seen is that people who started after 2010 have really got a good flourishing practice in the same, in anywhere between 3 to 6 years of starting practice. They've started doing very well, not survival. Okay, not 50,000-60,000 rupees. They've started doing very well. Okay, that is what's happening. Obviously, they don't charge like 1 lakh per conference. That's not the norm of doing well, right? The metric of doing well is you should have enough and more to meet. It's way more than survival. It's enough income, recognition, matters. Okay, all of that. So that is what they've started doing. And survival is like 50,000-60,000 these or 1 lakh. But these people I'm saying who are doing well are earning anywhere 3 to 4 times of that money. Okay, and now it's possible to reach that minimum 1 lakh mark for people within like 3 years. Okay, 2 to 3 years they are reaching that minimum 1 lakh rupee mark. That's less than what you'd earn in a top corporate law firm. But as your own practice, if you can earn that, anywhere between 70,000 to a lakh in a couple of years. That's not bad at all. And that I'm understating some of the amounts. Okay. And what I've seen is that now the time to establish oneself has become like 4 to 5 years. And a lot of the people who set out to start independent practice did this after, let's say, taking out a few gap years. So, like they would work in a law firm, then they may do higher studies, then they may come back and start litigating. Okay. So, even then, within 7 years, 6 years, they are ready. Okay. Which means that effective litigation experience has been around 3 to 4 years. Okay. Still, they have been able to attain success. Now, what is the difference then for you? How did these people do this, and how it's going to be different for you in comparison to how it was for us? For us, I said it would take 10 to 15 years, right? And it's not because we were misinformed. Times were like that at that moment. Now the times have changed. How have they changed? There are many, many more regulatory statutes, all of which were passed in the last decade, 2015 onwards. I'll tell you, PMLA work has increased. PMLA was passed earlier, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, but money laundering work has increased a lot right now. Black Money Act was implemented in 2015. Indian government has been aggressively going after those who have undisclosed income or assets offshore. In fact, not just Indian government, there has been a huge global agreement on, stopping tax evasion, stopping Swiss bank secrecy, all of that. Against all of that, there has been a huge global movement, because of which governments want the money back in their country to tax so that they can use that money for reform rather than having it stashed away. Okay, so what is happening is that, India's international agreements have been amended, information sharing procedures with international governments have increased. So what happens is that with those things implemented, government has access to a lot of information. They can use that information along with these laws and the criminal provisions to actually take action to bring people to book or to increase its revenue. That increases both prosecution side work and defense side work. Okay, so you would know that, you would see that from the, let's say, India Switzerland tax information exchange agreement. These are international private treaties. Okay, not private, international treaties between governments. Okay, that those amendments have happened, so information is shared. It's harder to keep like your account details secret with Swiss banks. Additionally, you have these domestic laws in place which are facilitating information exchange, sorry, which are criminalizing parking your assets offshore. And if at the right time you don't disclose it, then it becomes a criminal offense. Benami Transactions Prohibition Act was amended with a special in 2016. Okay, and a special adjudicating authority was created. This wasn't there in the earlier version of the 1988 act. In 2016, it gave the government way more powers and a new forum. This special adjudicating authority, this is the same authority which does cases under Prevention of Money Laundering Act, which hears those cases. So which means that this law really got teeth that time, and criminal lawyers have a new opportunity here. Fugitive Economic Offenders Act was introduced in 2018. Why? To attach assets of economic offenders in India who are evading jurisdiction of Indian courts. Again, so new law in 2018. Government also had more powers. Okay, GST was implemented from 1st July 2017. And GST authorities have special criminal powers. GST commissioners can arrest if the evasion as per them is more than 5 crore rupees. They don't have to even file a complaint before a magistrate. They can directly arrest you. So what happened in December 2020? You had record arrests. Okay, news. There's an article in Life Middle tell you about 250 arrests or something, but they're just in December 2020. That's like 8 arrests a day. Okay, so what does this mean to you with respect to opportunities available to criminal litigators? Can we quickly have a conversation on chat on this? I've shown these laws, right? I said that, these are emerging areas, I've said earlier, but now I just gave you the data, and you see that this all happened in 2015 to 2020, right? Now, what does this mean for you? You have way, way more opportunities available to yourself. These were not there earlier, right? Now, I'm going to tell you, okay, so how many of you agree that there are more opportunities? How many of you recognize that this is different now? This was not there earlier. What opportunities are there in the regulatory fields? Yeah, so I have been sharing, right, these areas: GST, criminal law, GST aspect, PMLA, black money, all of them. So these are the opportunities. You can be on the prosecution side or on the defense side. Okay, now I'll tell you how to go about that in terms of internships. But does it make sense? Are you able to follow the opportunities part? So POXO is there, SC/ST Act is there. These have been there from before. Specifically, work I can't say has increased or not, because these have been the standard ones. NDPS also has been the standard one. So I'm not going into every special law. Please understand, I'm not going into every special criminal law. These are called criminal minor legislations. If you look at the Bare Act book, I'm not going into every one. Why? Because there are some opportunities which are emerging and increasing. In every area it's not increasing. Okay, so we have to be mindful of that. So how many of you can see that in 2015 to 2020 there were some key new laws which came into existence increasing the work? Okay, so at the older work was PMLA was there, Prevention of Corruption Act was there, but there has been more movement around it still. And there are foreign companies which have been concerned about their Indian counterparts, their Indian subsidiaries engaging in any unauthorized payments. Okay, so that has led to white collar crime practice also increasing. I'll just tell you about. So I am going to share some more insights. Okay, now because of these regulatory statutes, what is happening? Government will have standing councils in each of these forums. Okay, like for each of these special laws, you'll have a special court. It could be in the same premises where the sessions court is. There will be a special court to deal with the special act offenses. Okay, but central government may appoint separate standing councils. Sometimes there will be junior standing council, sometimes there will be senior standing council representing the government authorities. You will have defense lawyers who will have to do that specialized work. So work becomes specialized. There are more opportunities both on prosecution and defense side. Second thing is that some of this work is now taken up by law firms, because the way that a client needs the service, that's better processed by a law firm, and where needed for the purpose of argument, external counsel, meaning a litigator can be engaged. Okay, and sometimes lawyers who are working in law firm may also do some arguments, or they'll at least do a lot of drafting. Okay, and a lot of advisory work, pre-court process advisory work. Okay, so law firms then have started their own white collar crime practices. That disputes practice has pivoted exclusively doing white collar work. Okay, this work is called compliance and investigations practice. Okay, this work is called compliance and investigations practice. Okay, where they are actually helping foreign clients with the Indian, with checking that the Indian company, the Indian subsidiary has complied with the Indian regulation, so has not made any unauthorized payments, because the foreign company will be punished under the foreign law, whether it is UK or US, for any illegal payment made by the officers of its subsidiary in India. Okay, to Indian authorities also. So in that way, these foreign laws on corruption from US and UK, the UK Bribery Act or the US Act, these are basically in a way extraterritorial, because they are like punishing for corruption that took place in India by the subsidiaries officers who may be Indian. Okay, so that has increased the work. So you have law firms now working in this. You have a lot more opportunity to work with different kinds of lawyers. So now I'm going to give you some perspective, okay, about what could the suggested internships be, and then we look at how to go about improving your exposure to these areas. But remember that you can't expect to ace it right away with the emerging opportunities. You can't say that I'll not learn criminal trial, I just directly I will learn some special law and I will do damn well at it. No, it won't happen like that, because you need to also understand the criminal trial process. And once people graduate, what happens is that this is the biggest challenge. Number one challenge is one criminal trial would easily take 5 years or more. Forget the appeal, the trial itself. Now, if you have to learn end-to-end process of a trial, you can't exactly watch the same trial end-to-end. Your life will pass. Okay, the best years of your life will pass. So in 1 or 2 years, if you are working with a senior, you will see different stages in different matters. And if you are learning by observation, then it takes you a year or two to grasp end-to-end stages of the trial alone. Okay, forget about appeals and all, just the trial. So to be able to take up any independent work First, you have to know what is the trial end to end. Then you have to know what will happen, what are the effects of a certain action today on the next few stages of the trial. Okay, so that is the reason. Understanding all that, it takes so much time if you start from scratch, and that is really the reason why it takes 4 or 5 years. Now, why are we planning out these internships and all? Because we want to shorten the period as much as possible and help you out with an accelerated pathway. We want to help you plan better. We want you to be able to figure out which internships to do if you've decided that you want to build a career in criminal law from an early time in law school, so that you can specialize uh, uh, and get much better. Okay. Web of check the criminal provisions in FEMA. There is some work that ED does there as well. Okay, so FEMA also is an important one. Now, let's look at the actual internships. Okay, so the internship pathway that you take up now, because I said trial and then the specialized aspects, all of these are important. Appellate court work, that's important. Then I've said separately that, starting out practice in your home district trial courts can be pretty rewarding if you're trained, because the market there may have way more opportunities, it may have less competition, right? So we are giving you a pathway. You can use some examples of internships to combine traditional with emerging opportunities. So how many of you are excited about it? If you're excited, say excited on chat. Thanks for answering that question. Somebody answered it. Thank you very much, Vaibhav. Okay, super. So some of these you may be aware of, but I'm going to help you out with saying how things add up together. Okay. I'll take Q&A at the end. Okay, keep writing. Ishan has asked me a question on tier 1 city. Should you move to tier 1 city? So I'll take that also. Okay. So now there is one place you can learn really well, and this you will need to check out. Okay. Figure out if a magistrate takes interns. You don't have a lot of people applying there. Okay. But the opportunity to understand trial is really good. Like, you have judicial clerks at the High Court and the Supreme Court. You have to figure this out. The magistrates will be interested in having interns. Okay. And you could be able to sit in their chamber, watch proceedings. So you want to try this process out in your state. The procedure will vary from district to district. Okay. But try to intern, be annexed to a magistrate's court. Okay. You will have insights like nobody else. Okay. And something I can tell you is that, we were taught during some parts of our CRPC, IPC Evidence Act classes, we were taught by a former magistrate who was also a sessions judge. So he could really integrate the process very well. And when you're learning from them in the middle of a trial, that'll add a lot of value. Okay. Now, second, legal services authorities have lawyers empaneled with them, and they also separately take interns. Okay, so either you could do it with the empaneled lawyers or you could apply to the authority. One thing to keep in mind is that you want to intern with the authority where you're fully exposed to the cases and the work, not just research work. Okay, not just reports and research work. You want the actual cases to be informed about. Yeah, from time to time, you will see some DV Act disputes, Lok Adalats, all of that. But that is part of the game. You should also, you should learn that side with the criminal law work. So it's not a problem. So Shashikala, you're doing it with DSLSA? Are you getting to see some of the criminal work that's coming? Obviously around the access to justice area, but there would be some criminal matters, right? Okay. Also, finding empaneled lawyers also makes sense, because why do we insist on going for empaneled lawyers as well? So there are two reasons. The empaneled lawyer wants to get empaneled because if they are good, then they can say that I was an empaneled lawyer earlier, and it's a great branding for them. For you, it's some kind of an assurance that if there's an empaneled lawyer, at least the work will be high in number. Okay, so there'll be more matters they'll be doing. That is one important reason. Then one-stop centers. So state governments across India have created something called one-stop centers, where which are there to guide people, victims of violence, domestic violence, usually women victims of domestic violence. And you will learn about the applicable framework under DV Act and various other criminal legislations to invoke. Okay, it'll give you a little front-facing perspective of what problems people have and how to resolve them at the outset. It's like one kind of client counseling experience. Okay, so it will be useful. You'll get a sense of ground reality. Okay. Vikram Pandey magistrate will be better than going with a law firm. Legal aid clinics, so you can work on some grassroots level matters. You can start your own legal aid clinic or work in that of your college. Take up some activity. Don't just become a member of the clinic, but organize a clinic. Okay, so legal aid society is one thing, but organizing a clinic means people can come to you with problems. Okay, so organize a clinic or set up a legal aid clinic. That'll help. You can set up an online helpline also to get some matters. That's not an internship, that's your own entrepreneurial initiative to do some work for free to help people, but that will be very helpful. Human rights commissions is another way to learn one aspect of human rights violations and criminal law. So NHRC you could try, state human rights commissions you could try, women's commission also you can try. Paralegal positions in your district courts. So many district courts have a paralegal internship listing. It's often put up in the notices also. You can file an RTI and come to know about it, or look on the district court's website, or you can visit the court and find out if there is something like this available. Okay. How can you apply, Vikram? Well, it's not so open right now about whether it is available online on a site. It's not available on a site. You'll have to look for it. Okay, you may have to visit the local court and figure this out, or you can ask if you know some senior who's become a judge in the court where you want to work. Okay, who cracked the judiciary exam, you can find that out. So in every state or in every district, it's going to be a common process. Okay, if they don't take, then you say, can you personally take? I'll come. You don't pay me. I'll just come and sit in your office, and I can watch the court hearings. Most of the hearings are anyway open court, right? So, and after that, you can intern with the magistrate, help in writing some of the orders if they allow you, or at least review the documents and the papers. Okay, so you have to find their email addresses and write to them. You may be able to type judge on LinkedIn and find out some people who are actually in that area, magistrates. Even if they're in a different state, please go ahead, feel free to apply to them. Paralegal position is different, magistrate position is different. Trial courts in your home state, you can find lawyers who are known in the trial courts of your home state and intern. So this is all the basics of criminal law that you need to pick up, and this will not happen in one internship. You may need at least 3-4 internships to get a hang of things. Okay, is your question addressed? Who was asking this? Vikram. Then standing councils of government. Now you have all these regulatory statutes, no? So you can have under PMLA at the adjudicating authority level, or at the special court level. The special court is is a sessions court. Adjudicating authority is not a sessions court. It's a separate authority created under the PMLA Act. Okay, so criminal lawyer is doing a lot of matters before such authorities also. Now they deal with Benami transactions as well. So you can work with the government standing councils like that. There are Information Technology Act offenses again, which are dealt with special courts. You can, and adjudicating authorities, you can find lawyers who do this work or who are impaneled by the government. So there are separate impaneled lawyers for IT Act offenses, separate lawyers for company related offenses. Okay, tax offenses will have separate lawyers. Then you can work with public prosecutors, including in CBI courts. These are basically sessions courts for special trials. So public prosecutors is a great idea. I wanted to show you this site. Okay, let me just show you. I'll get out of presentation mode. This is a site which tells you who are the impaneled lawyers with every government. Okay, so I'll show you a few searches that you can perform to find these things out for yourself. I'm going to click on this link and show you. Hang on. So it's an impaneled councils link. So you go on this link, okay? And now you can see these. It's going to tell you who is impaneled when. So 20th August, 3 advocates got impaneled by government. Which government also you'll come to know. Okay, so you come to know like this: Supreme Court of India, Group A Council, High Court. So fresh impaneled lawyers. You could even write to LinkedIn and congratulate them. You could see some of their work and reach out to them. Don't directly apply for internships without building a relationship. But now here's something to note. Now you choose your state here. Suppose you want to see in district courts, okay? District and subordinate courts. Which state you want to see? Chandigarh. Chalo. Apply. Let's see what came up recently. So you say you'll come to know who are the empaneled lawyers. Okay, now this file, let's see who got empaneled. 2018, there was an empanelment exercise. They were standing government council before district and subordinate courts. Okay, they may be doing both. It's not saying civil or criminal, they may do both also. Okay, so this is how to find out standing councils in your state at various forums. Which forums is the site allowing you to look at? District Court, High Court, Supreme Court, National Green Tribunal, Arbitration Panel Council also are there. Okay, this is one way to find that out. Now let's move on. I'll show you more screen shares. Enjoying till here? Now somebody asked, right, that should you shift to a tier 1 city? In my opinion, you can have a tier 1 experience through an internship. Why would you can shift to a tier 1 city if you want to build a practice there? Like if you want to build a practice in Supreme Court, have to be in Delhi. If you want to build a practice in a specialized forum which has a bench only in Delhi, again, you have to be in Delhi, right? But otherwise, it's not necessary to be in the same city. Okay, so High Court, for example, you should do an intern, but you can do an internship with a council in Delhi or Mumbai in the trial courts or High Court to see what the environment is like, just to give yourself exposure. But I'm not recommending starting off in a big city just because something better will happen to you. That's not necessary. High Court internship you must do after the trial process. After you're good with the trial process, you understand, you can do the High Court internships to see appeals, criminal appeals in a High Court. Okay, criminal appellate jurisdiction. Then Supreme Court internships. Now, what will you see at the Supreme Court and the High Court? You'll see appeals, you'll see revisions. In Supreme Court, you'll see SLPs also. In High Court, you'll also see various, appeals from Magistrates Court to Sessions Courts to High Court. So there'll be second appeals. Okay, you'll have a variety of work here. You'll have a variety of work at Supreme Court also, and you might find lawyers who are doing work under multiple laws and handling the appeals to the High Court and Supreme Court. Supreme Court has appellate jurisdiction in respect of offenses where 7 years imprisonment or more is there. So you may have appeals going here, some SLPs going here. Okay. Then white collar boutique firms and big law firms. What are boutique firms? Boutique firms are those firms which do only white collar practice. So I told you about the compliance and investigations practice. So under Foreign Corrupt Practices Act of US or UK Bribery Act, what happens is that those foreign companies will brief Indian lawyers to say, can you ensure and check, that can you do an investigation and check that there were no unauthorized payments made? Or if there was something made, can you tell us about the volume of risk that's there? Various mandates like that will be received. Okay, and boutique firms work on that also. That's compliance and investigations practice. Other than that, they also work on the special laws that I told you about, GST, PMLA, all of that. So after you've got a sense of trial courts and all of that, then you can apply to boutique firms or big law firms. While you are working with the legal services authorities, I forgot to tell you one thing. Also get a sense, of what the prisons are like. So you may do visit a jail and see what the conditions are like. Okay, how things work. Okay, now coming back to the white collar aspect. Now, boutique firms are there and big law firms are there. So it's not necessary to apply to a tier 1 firm right away. After all this experience, you can apply to a boutique law firm, a dedicated law firm, like, there's a MZM Legal, Panag and Babu, all these firms are there which have a boutique white collar practice. You can apply to them. Then you can apply to big law firms. All the big law firms, whether it's AZB, Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas, Luthra and Luthra Trilegal, Khetan and Co. They're all having white collar practices now. But you wouldn't know which firm is hiring when. So it's important that you stay in touch with them over a period of time to identify, so that when there's a vacancy, they may inform you or they may reach out to you. Now, these matters I'll give you example of more white collar matters. Okay, I'm giving you some examples. One is bribery, which I explained, okay, and other misconduct under anti-corruption laws. Then there can be non-performing assets also. Like now, non-performing asset is basically a loan gone bad of a bank where there hasn't been a repayment for 3 months or more, and 3 months or 6 months is the time under RBI guidelines, and then the RBI says that you categorize this as a non-performing loan. But The bank has to figure out if there was a fraud conducted or not. There may be an investigation for that. Okay. Then tax evasion again, when you find that taxes are not being paid or returns are not being filed, there are certain factual facts based on which you derive an inference that criminal prosecution should be started here for evasion. Okay. Or IBC also has a insolvency bankruptcy process. But what if before that was initiated, the promoters were anticipating it? And what if while in that process, during the anticipation of it, they transferred some property away from the company? Okay, they alienated their property. So those are called fraudulent preferences. So IBC has a certain civil way to deal with it, but there are criminal proceedings possible in respect of these areas. So the thing is that you may be an expert at section 420 of IPC on cheating, but how the law plays out in respect of all these facts and actions, it's very unique. And that's what you got to learn in all these interns before all these internships, ideally, so that you can apply these things. What's procurement for fraud? Anybody can answer? When the government is procuring something, okay, procuring, I said na, Panag and Babu, MZM Legal, there are more you will find, and all the big firms are also there. So when the government releases a tender, okay, and you have to bid for it, there could be unauthorized payments made there. There could be fraud over there. Okay, favoring some parties by the government, but private party kya karega? Private party will give somebody a bribe, for example, to win the tender. Okay, irrespective of not qualifying for the for the technical or the financial components, they may not be meeting the criteria necessary. So they will say, okay, like just make us qualify the tender related fraud. Yeah. Okay, there could be bid rigging and all also. They could be rigging the tender, they could form a cartel, a lot of things are there. But some parts have criminal aspects, some parts don't have. Okay. Infrastructure fraud, for example, you got an infrastructure loan long term, okay, but those development funds are being misused for a different purpose. And there's a clear clause in the document that there'll be an auditing process, there will be a purpose for which this money is used, but you're using it for different purposes. This can also happen. So now these are specialized applications, and the facts, the way the matter proceeds, the kind of mandate you'll get from a client will be different. Okay. So the lender will also say that, okay, this is the fraud that needs to be done. Pre-criminal proceeding initiation, some investigation needs to be checked, needs to be undertaken. Then the company will say, okay, we need to save ourselves. And then once the prosecution is initiated, then it's different altogether. So various stages will be there, and the matters, mandates, nature will be different. Violation of sanctions laws. What are like building sanctions, MCD laws, all of that? Okay. Uh, Basically municipal bylaws, violation of those, violation of various kinds of corporate governance and policy norms. Okay, you know what happened in the Harshad Mehta case, for example, the TV show Scam is on that, which is available on Sony Live. So now these kind of areas, no, the whole application is different. Now what should you aim to learn through the journey of all these internships that I told you? Okay, what should you aim to learn? One thing is that you need to be familiar with the different stages of the trial process right till the end, from the initiation of proceedings, from the complaint that's filed. And in a lot of these, it's not a private complaint. The complaint is filed after sanction from the authority, by a statutory authority has to sanction it. Then it has to be filed by the authority itself to the magistrate. Then the trial begins. So you have to be fully familiar with it. Then there may be compounding and all of that also that may happen in the middle. Their compounding and CRPC compounding is different. Okay, in some cases there are parallel proceedings which are there before the regulator. Okay, sometimes regulators say, "Arey, who will do the criminal proceeding? Let's initiate penalty proceedings. Our adjudicating authority will, or adjudicating officer will levy the penalty." So it's not a fine, it's not jail, but we'll levy the penalty. But criminal lawyers will then have to do that. Okay. Everybody who's raising their hands, I can unmute you at the end, or if you want, you can write on chat as to what you want to say. Okay. Knowledge of different branches. I always call this by way of branches because your trial is not complete and yet things can go till the Supreme Court or the High Court. That is important. You should know appeals, you should know quashing, you should know revision petitions. Okay. You should know SLPs. You should know second appeal. You should know appeal before High Court. You should know appeal against sentencing. All of this you must know till the end. Okay, I'll do a section on how to get a job, okay, or an internship. You should know different sides of criminal practice. What is the prosecutor's angle? What is the standing counsel's angle? What is the defense angle? What is the corporate guy's angle? What is happening in the law firm? What's the work like? All of these you should know. What's the regular trial process? What's the appellate process? And what's the aim of the lawyer? What kind of service he has to provide? So this whole picture must be imprinted in your mind. That's the goal from the internships. Okay. Then you must know how to do the work, especially drafting. The word drafting is not written on the slides, especially this. How to do the work is really important. Which part of it, drafting, is very, very important. Patience is the key in the sense that you can't go berserk about I'm going to make justice happen in India, but you have to follow the process and you have to be dedicated at your work. Like you apply to 10 people, don't get the job, don't get the internship, stay put to it, see what's the gap, okay, rather than quitting. See what's the gap. Keep building your network privately. Don't have to be in the court premises to do that. You can build your network by your own LinkedIn networking. Every person you intern with, the senior also, many juniors are there. Tomorrow, those juniors will go independent or they will work with another senior. So new opportunities will open up when that junior shifts. So keep doing that. Keep building one-on-one network with people on LinkedIn. Keep writing your own articles so that your profile is getting built up, and post on LinkedIn and Twitter. So keep working on your content. This is the number one thing, because people will write to you for guidance and inputs, and it'll give you a real opportunity to help others and to show that okay, you are actually learning and very serious about the law. Okay. Then the question is, huh, how to find an appropriate senior and how to get a job with them or an internship with them. Okay. To find an appropriate senior, you must track judgments from specific forums. So you can look at PMLA, adjudicating authorities judgments, whatever is published. Okay. Some forums will have these published judgments. Usme, in the reported order, you will see who argued for which side. And look at the lawyers. Like, don't read a judgment initially. You can read a few judgments and you'll realize that there's a pattern. So you can pick up patterns in the PMLA, adjudicating authorities judgments. Okay. That's up to you. But also print out like 10 judgments of this month and see that who are the lawyers who are regularly there. Okay. And then apply to those. There will be older lawyers, there'll be younger lawyers. It doesn't matter. You can be with a younger lawyer. That doesn't adversely affect you. Okay. Apply to a younger lawyer also, apply to a more senior lawyer also, but find out who are the people who frequently argue. Find out what kind of clients they're representing and what the issues are. Okay. If you are writing on those issues and then telling them that, sir or ma'am, I've read your orders, reported orders in the matters in which you were there. Issue was around this point, and I've written some articles on this. And I've referred to 3 of the recent orders where you argued for one side. You may want to have a look on this. This is a personal communication. You're not telling somebody, look, I'm so smart, I've analyzed the law very well, you did the wrong argument. You're not doing all that. You're just saying that I have been seeing that you are arguing a lot of matters like this, and I have a view on this, and I would love to share it with you for your inputs. Prepare a list based on this analysis of seniors whom you would like to intern with. All right. Then you will need to do this process that I just told you about. Start building your credibility on those areas, right? So you will have to start writing, learning about those. Start writing to the juniors also of those seniors and to those seniors directly, both. See who responds more, right? You don't know. Sometimes the junior is more active on social media, sometimes the senior is more active. Reaching out on Twitter and LinkedIn will help. The audience is very different. Okay, LinkedIn has a different vibe, a different way to connect. Twitter has a different way. Twitter takes a lot more time also, but you start doing that and see, learn the medium. Okay. How long will it take to establish yourself once you graduate? So when we graduated, it used to be 10 years. Now it can be 4 to 5 years. It is now 4 to 5 years. I've seen that happen with people. But criminal law growth can be faster in comparison to civil. Why? Because there are, people get some matters by chance. You may end up getting an additional bail matter, some more opportunities, because sometimes clients don't have an option and they need a lawyer quickly. Sometimes they may not be able to afford the most expensive lawyers. So people say that the progress can be faster than in civil matters. How can you accelerate the journey now? That's the question. Okay. Pursuing additional internships during college is a big advantage. Do running internships also if you can. And one of the big things to remember in criminal law is practice management. You have to learn how to build your practice profile, brand name. If you don't do that, it's going to be a problem. Okay, so pursue additional internships. If you can't do running internship in the courts, still with the litigator, you say, sir, I'll help you with practice management. With your, ma'am, I'll help you with practice management. I'll help you put updates on your social media account. I'll help you edit your website. I'll help you write and publish articles, co-author articles with them, propose article topics, ask them, sir, can you review it? Ma'am, can you review it? You can be you should be a author on this. I also want to be a co-author. I'll write the whole thing. Please review it. Okay, so do these things. This can help in getting early recognition, building your relationships, building your network. It will help you. You have no idea in which ways and when it will help you and how, because you don't know who needs help when. But when you've started all this earlier, people will recognize. Tomorrow, when they have opening for a job or internship, they'll say, hey, you want to intern with me? You want to apply? Are you looking for litigation opportunities? One more question that hounds people is that should I start from trial court and then work my way up to the Supreme Court internships, or should I do the reverse? We have seen that the reverse process also works. People start with Supreme Court. Sometimes they start with a clerkship under a Supreme Court judge and they learn a lot about the rigor of analysis. Okay, and then they can go down to the trial stage. And what happens is that you will know how things will play out at the appellate level when you're coming from appellate to trial court level, and you will have the rigor of an appellate court lawyer, but the facts and the process is entirely different in trial courts. But the rigor with which an appellate court lawyer looks at situations will be super. Okay, you'll also learn about how consciously a judge decides these points. Appeals court work may be useful from legal perspective, but one drawback, these lawyers are very senior in those things. Okay, so you will not probably learn about billing, practice development, client management, client relationships. So ये अलग से सीखना होगा. You'll have to learn it separately. Okay, Shashikala, would you like to type your question on chat? Then you may learn more about pricing, practice development, client negotiation, fee negotiation, building a schedule of delivery for a client, all of that more with a trial court lawyer, because they are more hands-on and you will have to do that work with them as their junior. You'll have to help them out assist them with that work. Now, here are the biggest problems of litigators and how you can address them. Why? Because I told you how to find a senior. Now, I told you how long it takes to build a practice, how many internships to do. Now, understand this, how to get your internship, how to crack that, right? Now, for seniors perspective, I'll tell you, okay, getting the right intern or the right junior is a big challenge for them. They also, you might think they're great litigators, but that is fine, but that you don't know how they also are not very reliant on the interview process. The interview technique process is not perfect. So it takes 2 years, for example, without any prior training to witness different phases of a trial in different matters. So interviews and CVs are also not perfect. Okay, so people know that when I give you drafting work and how you do, I know that you're good or bad. So if you've done that work, then it is good. Now, a lot of times people say, I've done this drafting work, but what they did was they just assisted their senior and they wrote a couple of paragraphs. Okay, that doesn't work. Or they were helping the senior in filing it, in making Xerox copies, and they'll say, worked on this petition. In the CV, that's how you write, correct? Worked on this, drafted this, drafted this. But did you draft the whole thing end to end? Do you know how it works? That you need to be able to do, right? So track record basically helps. How do you show a track record? For example, if you're doing anything in our course on criminal law, you will be learning and producing your own bail and anticipatory bail revision appeals, all these drafts on your own to show a senior. So that's called a track record. Okay, I have done this work, I can show you, and now I can do something for you. You can watch me. Network also speaks for itself. Network will happen if you are writing online and also doing more internships, doing work around the year. That network will get built up. In the interview, show people the drafts you're talking about. Okay. Uh, Shashikala, from which year you should start internship? First year itself, you can start. You can take up some of the Legal Services Authority and Human Rights Commission internships from first year itself. Pankaj, the stages in a civil case and criminal case, I'll explain to you later. Maybe you can check out in our courses. It's detailed. It's explained in detail. That'll take a lot more time than is available here. Okay, in this session, we can have a separate session on that. Okay, I'll check if we can do a webinar on it. Anonymous attendee, how can you get a job with a public prosecutor? You'll have to apply to them simply for internship. and see directly job से better है पहले intern करो वहाँ पर. Okay, so internship is always the route. Now, nothing beats a relationship of trust. Your goal has to be, this is irrelevant for everybody, including anonymous attendee. How do you get a job with a public prosecutor? Now, read this. Nothing beats a relationship of trust. How will you do this with a public prosecutor? You have to intern long enough with them to be able to do this, right? Ability means you should have written online. People should know, acha, if they search your name, if they search Ishan Puri, they should find that, acha, he's a emerging young enthusiastic lawyer, young lawyer or law student who's written on these areas. Second is that, okay, he's been in touch with me. I know he keeps writing on it. Once or twice he's done an assignment for me. He's also done an internship. Now I'll trust him after 3 years if he's continued to stay in touch. So that trust relationship is the most important. Okay. Connection is something you have to build. Okay, the world is flat. You have to think of this as the world to be flat. Okay, खुशी, it's not that connection नहीं है आपका जिंदगी भर नहीं रहेगा connection. आपका जिंदगी भर connection नहीं रहेगा यार, रहेगा कभी ना कभी तो बनाओगे ना. So you have to start building your connections now. And if you are adding value to them, then they will not have a problem. Any senior, you have to be able to add value. Build your skills to be able to add value. Learn networking. Okay, don't worry ki I have not inherited somebody else's network. No problem, that's not the issue. Okay, now I'm sharing some top drafts to learn. There may be a different number than 10, but I'm sharing some top drafts to learn. Criminal complaint and writing for cognizable cases, non-cognizable offenses, various applications before courts, bail application, anticipatory bail application, revision petition, okay, appeal before sessions court, appeal before high court, appeal before supreme court, SLP, remedial actions in respect of irregular arrest, quashing under section 482, protest petition before magistrate, learning how to make questions for cross examination. These few things, if you learn, you can go ahead and do well in an internship. Why am I saying this? Because there are few things you learn in the court, but there are few things you can learn outside the court process, and these are a few things you can prepare for. Now, questions for cross examination. By the way, people say cross examination is only learned on the job. I disagree. A lot of that process can be learned beforehand by thinking, planning, visualizing situations. For example, you're doing cross examination for eyewitness of what? Of a offense against the body, or eyewitness of somebody who saw corruption, like an unauthorized payment happen. Okay, so those things you can identify and then check what questions you will ask. Documentary evidence proof किया है, अब उसको proof कैसे करना है, और उसका cross examination how it has to be done, that also you can learn. Expert cross examination of expert in different fields, handwriting expert, docs, ACS, how do you cross examine them? Okay, you list out the experts, think, and then you look at how to cross examine them, what questions to ask. In our course we have 15 chapters and a few exercises on how to practice this. 15 chapters exclusively on cross examination, where you learn from the basics how to do that cross examination. Various other scenarios you can simulate. Okay, now simulation you need guidance to somebody to be able to simulate that so that you can practice, but this is possible. Okay, if you want help, you can reach out to our team. Keep in mind that the legal position may be gray, like GST arrests. What happens is that sometimes the law is evolving on new areas, so you'll have different judgments from different high courts. Even another place the law keeps changing again and again is the Public Gambling Act space, because there's fantasy sports. You understand what public gambling, like the gaming market, where these fantasy sports like Dream 11, for example, police used to arrest people who were playing Dream 11 or arrest employees. Then what happened? And because there were complaints filed, then there was litigation before the high courts, where the high courts dismissed it because they said this is not gambling under the law. This is a game of skill. Okay, now the position but was gray for a long period of time. It continues to be gray in various areas. So you have to not say that law is not clear, there is no law. No, you have to say that these courts have said this, in these places it's fine, these are the open issues, this is how it is. And you have to live through the uncertainty so that you can be a part of the law being developed. Okay, so we tend to say, acha, Supreme Court judgment says this, now the issue is settled, otherwise everything is confused. No, you have to know which court said what and why. Okay, then the other challenge is, can you pursue? Somebody asked me that how do I get my network ready? Simple. Can you post one new insight per day? How much do you need to learn to be able to post one new insight per day? Question mark. Okay, what would you need to learn to be able to post that much? That would be really important. Okay. Also, you are invited to continue to attend my upcoming webinars on best internships for aspiring criminal lawyers. Okay, 22nd Jan. This was today, so this is not the one. 22nd Jan, starting practice as a criminal litigator after you graduate. 26th, is it risky to start your independent practice as a litigator? How to offset these risks? Roadmap to start earning 50K per month. Where can I get my first 10 clients? So you can find all of these no on lawsikho.com/webinars. You will find these. Where can I get my first 10 clients as a young criminal lawyer? How many of you want to learn all these things? How to handle cheating and breach of trust cases? And then my workshop on Jan 30th. How to draft a bail application. All this learning is available for free. Okay, and those who want to build a career in criminal litigation want the guidance of our team for finding internships, writing your articles, posting on social media, learning how to draft these petitions, learning from practitioners who've got experience. You can reach out to Uzair on our team, and I will then send you the number for Uzair, that you can WhatsApp him on, and he will get in touch with you. You can take the number on chat. Vikram Pandey, could you speak to Uzair then after you texted him? Let me know if you could speak to him. Okay, so just follow up once on WhatsApp, no? 8439572315. Okay, looking at more questions. Okay, now I'll follow up with him, okay? And you also reach out. How many of you learned something today? Say yes if you learned something, and after you say yes, you type enter, send it to me, then you type which part of today's session, what was your learning or what can you implement? Okay, some people are raising hand. Should I unmute you? Shashikala and Shivam Pandey. I'm allowing Shashikala. You can speak. You want to speak something? Please unmute. Okay, you don't want to speak anymore. Then Shivam, you want to speak? Your hand is raised, hence I'm asking. Okay, thank you everybody. Can you share what you learned? What part of this you can implement now? Can you share what you learned? What part of this you can implement now? Try to write down what you learned. Can LawSikho course help you get a placement? Yes, definitely. Our team is helping you get placements like internships, all of that. And January has been on a I got logged off, guys. No, it's not over. You all are here, right? Great. So Kushagra, your question is addressed. You all can hear me?